This is day one, Advertising Week. I'm BJ Smith, and I have with me Myles Peacock, CEO of CreativeDrive. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, we were talking a little bit before we got started. You're working with content creation now, but tell me about your background. How did you get into it?
Well, I've come from a formal education in the communications industry, but what I then sort of broke into publishing and actually into merchant banking, and then from there, it was a bit of a leapfrog over to the advertising industry we're in now. So during that process, I worked for independent clients, independent production companies, and a decade of holding companies at each region around the world. So it gives me a fairly diversified sort of purview in regards to what's going on.
Okay, so you've already floored me. Merchant banking to advertising. Where's that leap?
Well, it's pretty relevant now.
Okay, it's true.
But in regards to where it absolutely was a leap. But it was again, it came from my formalized background, which was in marketing communications. So it was always a desire and intent to go there. But actually, the merchant banking and actually being an industry analyst was quite useful. And then actually spending time in the emerging markets in different regions around the world, setting up, developing companies in those markets was also, I think, a really good rounded background, just to see what's going on.
Later on this afternoon, you're going to be part of the session that's called "Yes, You Should Start That New Agency." Excuse me.
Yeah.
You've always dreamed of, but ... So, what is the big change that's happening in the agency business that we're talking about?
That's all right. Can you hear me now? That's right.
The beauty of
you
live
missed
video.
all the best bit. Sorry, repeat the question.
No, that's okay. So, what's been the biggest change in the agency business that we're talking about?
I think the fundamental change is the amount of change that's happened, and I think it's a combination of clients now are far more educated than they were before. They have a lot more data, a lot more knowledge than they historically had before. So they're looking at also, and obviously if you track back in regards to the recent past, we've had a situation, we've had a massive recession as well. So clients have really looked to say, okay, how can I meaningfully make my content and create my content in a better way? So that's then enabled them to sort of dissect and try to dissect the agency relationship, which has then caused a massive change in regards to the industry take. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So with that content creation, are we looking at having specialized content? Are we talking about content agencies that need to be there, or is this part of the agency business itself? I
think the reason why I'm in CreativeDrive now, and the reason what we're creating is a new engagement model for creation of content across revenue streams in a much more agile way and on a global basis. The reason we're doing that is because I believe that the fundamental structures of how companies and how we engage in a traditional model is just a bit antiquated in regards to how you can serve the client's needs in an everyday moment in the current day. So really what we're trying to do is address a client need, and the client need is to say, okay, I have a massive content requirement, I have less money than I had yesterday. My less money actually is more dispersed than it was yesterday because I've actually have to follow my key markets to actually deliver relevant content to them. So that actually I have a dilution of that spend. And then they've got an ever-increasing content requirement, and they have to be executed with speciality. So it's a case of if I'm going to execute, whether it's into Facebook or wherever it is, or any emerging media, and channels are obviously forever increasing, I have to do that with agility and I have to do that with effectiveness. And the traditional models and the traditional engagement model just doesn't allow that to happen. So you have to look at it in a completely different construct to say, okay, how am I going to get this deliverable done? You can't do the same as yesterday.
Back in the day when I spent a lot of time in the ad agency world, it was very simple. It seemed like there's traffic managers,
Yep.
there's print, there's TV, there's radio,
Yep.
there's outdoor. That
Yep.
was the main thing.
Yeah.
So with content, I'm just curious, how much of the input from the client do you need? How much is that client actually having to come in and be an active part of the content strategy?
I think it depends if you're doing a micro moment, a macro moment, or like a planned engagement. So I think that differs in regards to the level of involvement. But I think if you look at and we encourage it. So I mean we're a it's not meant to be boastful, but we're the world's largest network of studios. So we actually encourage clients to come and co-create with us because we are actually mainly made of makers and doers versus I would say, helmetless couriers at the top, right? So for us, the more that we can get engagement from the clients, the more they can help and co-create with us, I think the more relevant you can be. I think when you start getting to those quick bite moments, then I think you actually do need, the approval process has to be very quick. And that's actually how you have to break down in regards to the points of contact, so you can actually get that approval process really nimble and really agile. So I would say we encourage it, collaboration. What's interesting is I've seen an awful lot of shift of talent from ex-agency people and ex-agency creatives move over to the brand side. And we've engaged with an awful lot of better creatives on the brand side than we have historically with some of the agency communities now. So we've definitely seen a dilution of talent in the traditional sense, and that's shifting over to the brand component.
Is that change because maybe some of these agencies don't understand the brand as well as the people who are actually with the brand?
I think so. I mean, I think that's definitely the case, and I think there's an opportunity. I mean, I think it's always a cycle, so how long that cycle will last, but I think it's a combination of, you've seen specifically in the holding company constructs, people look in regards to how do they make their business way more efficient, and sometimes that's a lot of internal looking in regards to dense packing, and how do we make this vehicle more efficient in regards to different financial constructs and client remunerations, and I think that's really stifled some of the creativity, and that's why clients and creative guys and creative teams have looked to parachute out to see where's there a better opportunity.
Along those same lines, I was thinking, I also spent time in the brand. I went from the agency to the brand world as well, so I've been there.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult as the company grew to release that creative process out to somebody else, because you just sort of wanted to pull it back in, and like nobody understands us like we do.
100%. And I think that's a big failing on a lot of agencies, quite honestly. They go in there very arrogant and they think they do know the brand better than the client. They don't. They never do.
Right.
I mean, the guys are living every day, and I think the other big thing about content at the moment is there's a massive miss into the e-com world. Nobody's addressing that e-com component, which is closing down the bricks and mortars. Well, Amazon's a big media player. You better start getting to understand the analytical components of Amazon. Otherwise, you really are going to be a bit dead in the water.
We're in an era where companies like Toys R Us are filing bankruptcy because they didn't make that leap into e-com the way they needed to, I believe. So that's definitely a big point.
It's a huge shift. I mean, you've got to get back to the basics in regards to, you're trying to help clients sell a product, and you're trying to help clients actually shift to what they got inside, and a large chunk of that is actually online, and a large chunk of that is through an e-com platform and how you connect to the shopping cart. So and that's just a large miss inside of our industry in regards to saying, okay, am I going to build something and construct something under a 60-second spot, or am I actually going to start looking at how we create an evolution in this model to actually address the real-time needs of today? Which is not the same structure as most companies are building their constructs at the moment. And you see the rise of like the Accentures of the world or those type of consultancy companies. But if they're not careful, they'll end up being another holding company structure with a different name above the door. You really have to look at how you create the model with much more agility.
All right, Myles Peacock, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
This is day one of Advertising Week again. Thanks again, Myles.
Thank you. Enjoyed it. Thank you.